Welcome to Energy Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday to the 30th of March comes to you from London. And we start by looking at exchange traded products. So I use this on my Bloomberg. You could easily be doing this on Reuters. And then the OTC products coming off the Trayport Joule system, Updata connecting to Trayport Joule. So you can follow me if you're an Updata user trading on with Trayport Joule, and you can just follow me as well. And the great thing about Dual Direct and Dual SAS is that all the codes are the same, which means that you can pick up these same desktops in our libraries. Just go to the Trayport library and you can pick up the same desktop and follow me. So if your firewall allows that, then you can follow me. What my format here is my long-term charts, my weekly, my medium-term charts daily, and my short-term charts, my 60-minute charts. So this is 1% point and figure log scale, 0.5% and 0.1%. And in the configuration, I'm using actually stitching in OTC data, so I can actually from Updata, I can actually use Updata energy feed data. So if you're new to Trayport Joule and you don't have a lot of history, or my histories are longer than yours, then you can actually do that as well. Seamlessly just connect to our own OTC histories. But if you've got your own Trayport histories and are connected to more brokers than me, then that's probably the way to go. So just the strength of your data that really counts here, and we'll look at that as we go through. So I'm going to start by looking at crude oil. Crude is actually just starting to recover quite strongly here. We're negating some of the downside targets that we saw. We've got upside targets to 52.63. We're nearly there. That target was given about a week ago. And we've got another upside target to 53.21. That's about 1.3% upside. It does look like we are finding some support here, but this $50 level is looking now pretty critical. But the fact that crude is falling at this time of year is worrying. This is normally our strong time, and we've broken out of that range to the downside. So this is still pretty bearish, and we do have some longer-term targets hanging over us. WTI is looked especially bearish with 5 downside targets. 3 of those have been negated. By being negated, they've come off the chart because we've risen to levels higher than where those targets were given. But we do still have this big medium-term target of $37. That's 24% downside from here. We're recovering against that, but that target is hanging over us unless we make new highs. So whilst we're below $54.60 on WTI, that is hanging over us, and that's pretty bearish. So just keep an eye out there. If you're really trading crude, watch the 1-minute charts for your point and figure targets for any big changes. US NatGas recovered quite strongly. We're at $3.22. We had those targets. We had 324 that was given and met. You can't ignore these targets when you see them. 344 is the next target, and we are seeing here medium-term and long-term targets of 368 and even as high as 415. We've still got some work to do to turn bullish in the medium term, but the long-term chart is still bullish. So NatGas looking quite a bit better than crude oil. Looking at heating oil, very similar chart to crude oil, as you might expect, and RBOB has been the real standout, staying bullish on all 3 time frames, and we've got 4.7% upside there on the medium term, 4, 3 and 8%, and 6 and 4% in the long term. So not stellar targets in terms of the longer term picture, but it's maintaining its bullishness. Taking a look at coal, we're seeing here on coal that we are bullish in the short term. We've risen above the cloud. We've got quite a lot of resistance here to fight, and we do have an upside target to 67. It's about 2.7% upside, but we do still have quite a lot of downside targets hanging over us in the medium term chart, as low as the mid 50s and then the mid 40s. So coal still has that ability to go down further. Emissions, we're seeing this market looking really terrible. We still have €4.20 hanging over us. We have got a recovery this morning, but we are still looking pretty bearish in the medium term. Taking a look at Bloomberg, the front month contract for MBP. This is the exchange traded contract on ICE. We're looking pretty bullish there, and on TTF, much the same thing. So Interesting that we are seeing a recovery in the gas markets just this morning, coming back above the cloud. TTF looking a little bit better than MBP. Looking at currencies, just for any impact on your spreads, dollar is recovering quite strongly. The dollar index just getting back into the cloud. Bullish in the short term. No new upside targets yet. Keep an eye on the 1 minute charts if you're watching the currencies closely. Euro is below the cloud, so that's looking bearish again, and the medium and long term picture on the euro is still very bearish. Sterling also looking bearish, back below the cloud in the short term. Just waiting for a fall really below this 123.80 level. 123.75 would activate that downside target to 120. So looking at euro sterling, it's fairly mixed here. We're just sitting in this range at around 115. Okay, moving to OTC, we can see mostly this morning that the OTC Energy mix is all looking pretty strong. We've got quite strong moves up. This is data all coming off the Trayport system, and we're seeing here that we are just seeing that sharp recovery. Is it enough though? This is the big thing. We're just bearish below the cloud on the long-term chart. The medium-term chart is definitely bearish with a downside target of 32.50 on front month MBP, and these charts are all continuous charts, of course. So long histories here. We see going right back, and this is the power of the data, is to be able to actually just see where we are on that chart. And we see here on the short-term 60-minute chart, we are just recovering somewhat slightly. What I can do is go to the 1 minute chart, and in fact I can do that straight from my Trayport system. Just from Trayport, you go Updata chart, straight away it will open an Updata. There's the daily, the 60-minute. This is just on the April contract, all venues though. So and we see here that we've got the data, and from that data, will we see any thrust targets? Press the T key on your system and you automatically get the targets. And we see here we still have these downside targets and no really clear upside thrust targets. Now your targets might be slightly better with more broker data. You might have more data to run that on. I've only got a small amount of broker data, whereas if you've got the Trayport system and all the broker data, you'll have an advantage. We're seeing here on winter summer just slightly coming off now, and whilst it got to a good start this morning, we're just starting to see that turning negative in the price. Still above the cloud on the long-term chart, but the short and medium-term targets are still not there. Looking at the prompt markets, again a sharp recovery this morning, but still very bearish in terms of the trend. That was on day ahead, and on within day on MBP, much the same thing. Taking a look at TTF, starting to get above the cloud here. We saw on the exchange traded contract we were, but on OTC, we've still got a little bit of work to do to get above the cloud there. On winter summer, we see here, again, we're just below the cloud. Taking a look at prompt, we're below the cloud as well. NCG, so whilst we're seeing strong recoveries this morning within the trend environment, we're seeing that we're still very bearish indeed. Moving to power markets, looking at German power, power looking a lot stronger than gas. We're seeing here that we bounced on the cloud on the lagging line. That's positive. We are just finding some support here. In terms of the long-term chart, a big consolidation happening here in German power. We need a break to new highs to give us that upside. We break above the 32 level and we'd activate 51 euros. So quite a lot of work to do, but we're seeing if we can break to new highs, that will happen. We are seeing a new target of 32.50 off this thrust that we're seeing here, but it's not yet activated. We need to move back above 29.50 to activate that. We're just there at the moment, but we've really got to get to sort of 29.52 to activate that upside target. Of course, what I can do is go and look at the short-term chart. So if you just type in Germany, you get German baseload, but one of the great things is you can go to this all venues, and this will pull in all the trading venues. If I go to the continuous chart here, that's the daily, 60-minute, the 1 minute chart. This data all coming off your Trayport system of all venues traded, and you get lovely long charts here. This is 1 minute data, and if we press the T key here, we get the trends and targets, and we see here that we do have an upside target to 30.80, and with 31. So that 3080 target is activated. So we've got 4% upside. If we move above this 29.55, we'll see a new upside target. You can of course go to smaller box sizes still. And if you're watching power and trading power, and a lot of users trading power are watching these charts. If you're trading power and gas, watching these 1 minute charts throughout the day live on your system will be really critical to your trading. So just keep an eye on that German power chart for any changes there to the upside or the downside. But it's looking pretty bullish this morning. Looking at the quarters, we're above the cloud as well. On the Euro months, we're seeing here that we're just rising above, and on the Euro years, we're seeing here that we're just below. On French power, still bearish here. Bullish long term, that was the rise on the nukes, then a dramatic fall away. So this chart has really been distorted by that nukes event, but we're seeing that again here in the chart as well. If I want to just take that move out, I can just scroll out a little bit and we can start to see how we've acted since then, but it really has distorted the charts for French power, so I prefer to look at German power. Looking at the months, we're seeing here much the same picture. This is one great big consolidation, a very hard chart to read. Looking at Dutch power, we see here a strong recovery but below the cloud, and we did just move below, so not looking as bullish as German power. Italian power, we see here that we are just below the cloud in the short term. Again, not looking quite as good as German power. And Spanish power, last of all, looking better. So that's quite key. And I'm in Lisbon tomorrow seeing clients, so this is quite good that we've got a bullish picture here on Spanish power to look at. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.